Yo, 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 welcome back to another episode of On the Spot Sports. And before we get to our guest today, we have a big shout out for Living Sisu. Living Sisu is a platform and app that wants to give you all the tools to have success in your sport. Their main objective is to activate your lifestyle. So it's for active people. Enjoy discounts at companies like BioSteel, 30% off, Body Logics, the Goalie Guild, all his books are discounted. Roan, Lululemon for men, 20% off. Online stretching programs with Eccentrics, 1 full month free. They got super silent massage guns, 20% off those. And it's a great quality. It's way less expensive than a Theragun, and it's great quality. So there's so many more discounts that you guys will need to just become a member to see. So they want to provide you with anything you need for success. So come join the community. I'm a part of it. A bunch of other athletes are a part of it. So it's free to join. It takes 20 seconds to get exclusive offers to your sport, and it's definitely worth it. So do us a huge favor and go sign up for Living Sisu's membership. It's free, 20 takes 20 seconds. So go do it, and we'll see you there. Living Sisu is a great company. We know one of the co-founders, Zach Fricali. He's a great guy. He's the co-founder. He does a lot of live streams on Instagram at Living Sisu, and with a bunch of elite athletes, and you learn a lot from like the athletes' determination, their resiliency, everything to what made them become successful. So it's been a great experience so far. So go on. I'm gonna leave the link in the description. So go sign up. Yo, welcome back to another episode of On the Spot Sports. I'm Jack, and in today's episode, we are joined by a very special guest, current professional hockey goalie, Kyle Kaiser. Kyle is currently playing the AHL with the Providence Bruins and also spent some time in the ECHL earlier this year with the Jacksonville Icemen. Kyle plays junior hockey days in the Ontario Hockey League with the Flint Firebirds and the Oshawa Generals. Kyle was also on Team USA in the World Junior Championships in 2018, 2019. So, Kyle, I'm really excited to get you on. So, welcome to the show, Kyle Kaiser.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, no problems. Like, how are you? Like, things are a bit crazy now with hockey, with life in general. So, like, how have you been?
Yeah.
And just everything. How are you getting situated with everything?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a little bit different times right now with COVID and everything going on. I think it's kind of affected everyone, whether you play hockey or not. So this year we've just been fortunate that, our seasons have been able to, kind of continue on and we've been able to play. Up here in Providence, we have a little bit of a shortened schedule this year, only playing, I think, 26 regular season games without any playoffs. So, that's definitely a unique situation considering we usually play upwards of 2 or 3 games a week. And this year we're only playing about 1 game every 6 days. So it's been a little different managing that kind of aspect of the game. Just making sure that you're prepared because you're only going to get a game in 1 every 6 days. And, you don't really have time to, I would say make mistakes. I mean, obviously you're going to make mistakes, but, they're a little bit amplified because you don't have that time to, go out the next day and play another game and kind of get that out of your head. So, but no, I mean, like I said, in the world that we're living in today, we're just fortunate to be able to play hockey and do what we love when there's so many other things going on around us.
Yeah, for sure. So, like, is it hard since like the AHL isn't having playoffs this year? Just like, I guess not motivate yourself because obviously you're playing games during this time, and just like how hard was it hearing that like there's not going to be the Calder Cup's not going to be awarded?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely difficult. I mean, as a hockey player, we all have a goal, when we start the regular season of every year is we want to win a championship with that team and with that group of guys. So, when you realize that you're not playing for a specific, I would say, championship, it makes it difficult for sure. But at the same time, I think when you get to professional hockey, you're a professional, right? You get paid to play the game and this is what you love to do. And you're expected to come to the rink and prepare and perform the way that you would if there was if you were competing for a Calder Cup. And I think our mindset here in Providence right now, with our group, we've had a real good start to the season. We have a really good team, a good group of guys. And I think our mindset is just, let's make the best out of this year and, let's use it to the best of our abilities for development. That way it sets us up into next year, right? And we have a good feeling going into the next season. getting a lot of guys on our team. I know we have some younger guys on our team, including myself, that don't have a ton of American League experience. So, I mean, I think it's an important year for us to be able to develop and play our games. That way, when we're set up for next year, moving into hopefully a full season where it's more of a normal year with playoffs and all that stuff, we'll have that experience from this past season to lead us into there. So it's definitely difficult to motivate yourself, I would say, when you don't have a championship goal in mind. But at the same time, most of us here in the American Hockey League are working on our development to, move up to the next level. So when you're out there at practice or you're playing different games this year, I think you're really just trying to focus on, hitting those development cues and making sure that you're going out and, doing the things that you need to do to make it to the next level.
Yeah. So like, how important is that development aspect, especially like since like there's no playoffs and just you're a newer guy in the American League and you just gotta work up the ranks and like get those opportunities to help you push the boundaries and push going to the next level, which is the NHL.
Yeah. No, I mean, development is crucial. I think as a goaltender, for myself, a lot of us, we always want to reach the highest level at the earliest point of our careers, right? The quicker you can get there, that would be awesome. But I think you have to take a step back and realize that there's a bigger picture regarding, your development and your career longevity, right? So I think you see, maybe guys get their chances as they're younger, you know what I mean? Then they might hit a bump in the road and then they, have to kind of reset. So I think from my personality standpoint, wherever I am, I'm just trying to improve every single day. It doesn't matter if I'm down in Jacksonville, up in Providence, or up in Boston, right? I mean, I think my mindset and my goal is still the same every day, and that's just to keep getting better. And, as long as you keep getting better at whatever you're doing, it doesn't even have to be hockey related. It could be life related, business related, anything. As long as you keep improving and keep an upwards trajectory, I think that that's what I deem as success in my eyes. And, it's just making sure that, you come to the rink every single day and you prepare and you do the things that you need to do that you need to do to be a professional and make it to that next level. And it's not a sprint, it's a marathon, making sure that you put in the time, you put in the right effort to make it to that next level. Because there's going to be bumps in the road, no matter where you are. And you're going to battle adversity. And, that's a big thing, is learning how to handle that adversity at a young age and then cue that adversity to help you develop into the person and then into the goalie that you want to be. Some guys are fortunate at a younger age where they're ready for that next step, and some guys maybe take a little bit longer. But it doesn't matter if everyone ends up in the same goal, right? If you make it to the NHL when you're 22 or when you're 25, you're still in the NHL at the same time. It's kind of the way I look at it.
Yeah, exactly. I really like what you said there, because it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. Like, you just got to trust the process, and like, you got to embrace the process too. Because if you look just to get to the NHL right whenever you can, like right early from an early age, like you're going to miss out on that, on like the parts leading up to it and just not enjoying that. But like, as like you go on later in your career, it just feels like you would appreciate the process a lot more and just be able to like work off of that and then work your way up to obviously the NHL or wherever you're the highest level you're going to play.
Definitely. Yeah, it's important, like I said, to, like you were mentioning, enjoy the process and the journey of it all, right? Because I think when you start getting, so focused on your end goal, you start to lose track of where you actually are in your development process. And you're trying to think, okay, I got to make it to the next step. I got to make it to the next step, instead of focusing on, okay, let me just focus on today, tomorrow, and the next day, and then just take it one day at a time, one practice at a time, one game at a time. Okay, what did I do well in practice today? How can that help me move up to the next level? What didn't I do well? Let's go over that. Let's start focusing on that for the next couple practices to improve those weaknesses. You know what I mean? Because I think if you start jumping the gun and you start thinking long-term, you start to neglect some of the things that you're missing out that, will ultimately fail you in the long run. So if you can kind of cover your bases early, okay, obviously, hockey and everything is not perfect. Like, it's never going to be perfect, but you have to keep striving at, fixing those weaknesses and improving them to make them strengths of your game. So if you can do that in a development role down in the American League, for me personally, if I can work on my weaknesses down here, I'll feel even more confident when I get that chance up at the next level that I've covered all the bases in the development process that I need to be successful there.
Yeah, exactly. And like, just from like personal experience with me, like I really want to like get up the levels like as soon as I can, but like then, like you said, and I'm sure you could attest to this, you lose focus and like
Yeah.
you don't enjoy the moments, but like when you do focus on like the day of and just day by day, week by week, like you enjoy the moments. You like focus on one thing during practice to get better, and then you better yourself every day at practice, and then that's like the process that you want to have, and just like continue to work that way up, build those pieces together before getting to the end game.
Absolutely. The more prepared you are, the more you can prepare yourself on an everyday basis. When you get to those next steps or when you move up in a level, you'll feel more confident. Like, okay, I know that, I've done what I need to do to prepare to be ready for this opportunity. I think that's a big thing for me. Early in the season when I was down in Jacksonville, I felt like that's where I was kind of really tuning my game up. Like I was feeling really good about where my game was. All the stuff that I worked on in the summer was starting to, kind of all click together and start to work well. So when I got called up to Providence a month ago and I went into my first game, I had no nervousness, no worries, because I knew I was ready for that. You know what I mean? I knew I put in the work and I covered the bases that I needed to do to make sure that I was successful when I came up here. And I think it all kind of fell in line.
Yeah, exactly. And I like what you said there, and just like the preparation part of it. Like, what do you do to prepare for like a practice, whether it be practice, game, just a workout
Yeah.
on off ice? Like, what do you do to help yourself like tune in to whatever you're gonna do next?
Yeah. I mean, I think for myself personally, I'm pretty strict and diligent on my routines and how I prepare, for everyday, whether it be hockey life, all that kind of stuff. I find that, if I can get myself in a routine, then that's going to lead me to success. That's how I've always been raised. It's just that the way that I kind of live my life is routine based, because I know I can, that's just going to, I guess, provide some mental clarity for me so I can focus on what I need to do. From a practice standpoint, I get to the rink pretty early, I would say, and, always want to get like a lift in if I can. If I don't have a game, I'm not worried about being sore, and, doing some mobility stretching for, 20, 30 minutes before I even, think about getting on the ice, just to make sure my body's primed and ready to go before I go out and practice. And I think I'm one of those guys that, I know it's different for everyone and everyone's got their own way of thinking about it, but I really take practice seriously, in a sense that I find when I have good practices and when I'm engaged in practice, when I'm working on things I need to work on, when the game time comes around, I'm not even thinking, I'm just going out and playing hockey. And, like I said, it's different for every single person. Some guys like to have a little more fun in practice, and I like to have fun, but I think in the sense that I'm just always dialed in on okay, I'll have fun, but I know I need to, I need to get this, and this done today to feel like I'm prepared for the next day. And then when game time comes around, I think it's I would say even more of a, process for me in the way that I prepare myself. I'm very, big into breathing and visualization. And, I do my hand-eye stuff before I even get out on the ice in a dynamic warm-up, all that kind of stuff. It's something that's taken me probably 4 or 5 years to really nail down a routine that I've found like, okay, this works really well for me. And it's different for every single person, right? I think the main thing that I notice is that every single person has a different way of preparing for a game or a practice. As long as it works for them, that's what works for them. And I think it's something that you can't really copy another person's pregame routine. You know what I mean? You could take bits and pieces like, oh, I like what that guy does. He does juggling or he does this. Maybe I'll try and incorporate that in my routine. But at the same time, it's just like anything in life. It's just repetition. And then, okay, that's what works for me. I really liked doing that before practice or a game or, anything that you do. So I think for me, it's just a routine that I've built over years now. It's something that I know, like if I go through my routine before a game, I can just go out there and play because I know I've done everything I needed to do leading up to that game to prepare myself to be primed and ready to go. And, at that point, you go out and play the game. If it goes well, great. If it doesn't, you move on from it because you did, and in your heart and your mind, you did what you needed to do to prepare. Maybe that wasn't your night. Okay, as long as you can look at yourself in the mirror after and say, I've done what I needed to do, then that's all that matters in my eyes.
Yeah, I really like what you said there, and like you brought up a ton of great topics. Like everyone sees like, oh, you're on the ice, you're making saves, you let in a bad goal, but all the little details that you brought in, like mobility, hand-eye, routines, just establishing like stretching and just all of that, and just how important it is to like build that foundation off the ice to help you prepare and be successful on the ice, and just everything going on, but between like off ice, on ice, like you just bring all that together, and like it makes you, I guess you could say, and just how you end up playing, and if you're going to be a successful or not, and just
Yeah.
how it's going to you're going to play out, I guess you could say.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so you also were down in Jacksonville earlier this year, where you got
Mhm.
to play in a lot of games. You played 16
Mhm.
games. So like how was that for you, going down to Jacksonville, getting that playing time, like developing even more before
Yeah.
coming up to Providence?
I think it was crucial for my development to go down there early in the season. You know, last year, my first, I guess, pro season, you could call it. I suffered a concussion early in November, so I didn't end up playing the rest of the season. So I only played, I think, about, I want to say 7 or 8 pro games last year in my first technically pro season. So, you know, I think this year, the way I looked at it at the beginning of this year was I was kind of, you know, taking this as my first year of pro hockey, because it had been well over a year and a half since I had played a game from last year to my first start in Jacksonville this year. So I think when I went to Jacksonville, my mindset was, you know, you're gonna be a little rusty at first. You know, you haven't played a game in over a year and a half, but that's all part of the process. And you know, it was my first couple of games in Jacksonville was shaky, right? Like I was, you know, and I expected that, but at the same time, you're a competitor and you want to do as well as you can, so you're frustrated and all that kind of stuff. And you know, I didn't play for a couple of weeks, and then you know, I got back into the net, and you know, I played well up in Greenville. And then I was like, okay, you know, I've been starting to feel like myself again. And then, you know, I was fortunate to kind of get on a roll where I'd started like, you know, 13 or 14, you know, consecutive games. And I was like, okay, I'm really starting. And I hit my stride, and I started to feel like, you know, I put whatever happened with last season behind me, and I could just focus on this year and what's in front of me. You know, all the changes I made with my goalie coach in the summer, I thought were starting to really implement into my game and becoming second nature rather than me thinking about them. And it was awesome. And I felt like, you know, our team was starting to play way better in Jacksonville. I was playing better. Things were all starting to come together. And it was really, you know, a huge help for my development personally. And like I mentioned before, I think, you know, when I got the phone call that I was going to be called up to Providence, I thought I wasn't even worried. You know, I was like, okay, I'm ready for this opportunity. I've played well. I've done what I needed to do. I've, you know, taken that step, you know, from last year to this year, you know, and my game feels good. So now I'm prepared to come up here and, you know, make that next step and be successful. So, yeah, no, the beginning of the year in Jacksonville was very important for my development, you know, on and off the ice. Just, you know, I would say, you know, just being able to work at putting, like I said, what happened last year was pretty difficult for me. You know, just suffering the concussion, not being able to play the game that you love for over a year and a half, and then COVID hits, so the season shut down and all that stuff. So just being able to move past that and just focus on what's in front of me, like we had talked about, I think was really important for me.
Yeah, for sure. So like when you weren't playing as great, like at the start of the year in
Yeah,
Jacksonville, like what was your mindset like throughout that time? Just like you know, when as a goalie, like
yeah,
as when things don't go right, like you start
yeah,
like thinking and just overthinking about everything, and
sure.
just it's like what did you do to help calm yourself down, especially in the mindset, and just realize just to play game by game, day by day, and just enjoy the process too.
Absolutely. No, that's a great point that you bring up, because when it's going bad, I think it's tough for us to, you know, realize, you know, that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and all you can think about, you know, as goalies and as, you know, just naturally as people, I think when things aren't going well, we start to overthink and overanalyze every single thing of what's going on, right? And you know, the first couple of games that I struggled in, you know, I felt like I was okay, I'm playing well, but just, you know, like it's not all there. You know what I mean? Like I'm not
Yeah.
at my full abilities. I know what I'm capable of playing like, and I'm making some big saves and I'm making this and this, but you know, I know that there's some goals that, you know, I have, like, that's not usually on me. And, you know, I think for me, it was, like you said, I was getting really worked up about the first couple games because I wanted to do so well, so bad, so quick, right? Because I didn't play all last year. So I wanted to prove myself, and, you know, I wanted to show everyone like, oh, I'm still here. And, you know, I think I started to, you know, overhyped before games, and I was getting so hyped up, like I can't wait to play, I mean, this and this and this. And I think after those first couple games, I just I had to take a breath, I mean? I had to take a step back and say, okay, relax, like everything's fine, like, just take a couple deep breaths, let's move on, let's just reset and focus on the next game. Whatever happened in the past, you can't change it. Let's just move on. Watch some videos, see what you're doing well, see what you're not doing well. Let's try and make some adjustments in practice. And then when the next game comes, we'll put those adjustments in, see how that works. You know what I mean? I think it's a trial and error kind of thing. You're like, okay, let me try this out. No, that's not working very well. Okay, well, let's take a step back, see why it's not working well, and then make adjustments on the fly from there. I have a great support system with my goalie coaches up here in Boston and Providence, and then my goalie coach back home in Michigan. So I communicate with them quite often. They have my video feed, so maybe they can point out things to me that I don't see. You know what I mean? They're like, okay, well, I see that you might be doing this. Maybe you're getting a little overextended on plays when you can beat it on your feet, or you can be a little bit more compact. And then I look at the video and I watch it and I go, okay, yeah, you're right. Or maybe I have a rebuttal. What do you think about this, this, and this? You know what I mean? So I think it's when things aren't going well, it's easy to overanalyze, but at the same time, you want to take a step back, take a deep breath, realize, okay, everything's fine. You know what I mean? Like, let me just get back to my game. But I also think it's important to be able to learn from those mistakes, right? Like, instead of overanalyzing, watch your video, take 10 minutes to watch your video, see what you did well, see what you didn't, and then move on from it. You know what I mean? Don't keep coming back to that video and watching it over and over and over again. Know what I did wrong. Okay, move on. Let's take a next step towards next game. So I think being able to, forget, things quickly is such a crucial part of goaltending. In my eyes, it's something that I've worked on for years now with a sports psychologist, reading different books, focusing on my breathing techniques while I'm in the net. And all that is just helping me, stay in the moment and stay present of where I'm at, not worrying about what happened, not worrying about the future, just worrying on next shot mentality. Something that I talked to, my sports psychologist about. And, for goalies, if, this helps for anyone, he always told me, like, it's a next shot mentality, right? So whether you let in a goal from the far blue line or you made the best save of your life, the next shot's coming. You know what I mean? So you gotta worry about whatever's coming, because that whatever just happened and it's done with. And now we got to move on to the next shot. So, I routinely just say out loud while I'm in the net, like, next shot, shot 16, shot 17, and just focus on the next shot. And I think it just helps keep me in the present, where I'm not thinking about what's happened and I'm not thinking about what's going to happen in the game.
Yeah, I really like how you brought up like being in the moment, because like even from like personal experience, like last year like wasn't my best year, and like I'd be like dwelling on goals after they happen, and you know what's gonna happen next. The next shot's gonna go in.
Right.
But like this year, like I had the same mentality, like next shot mentality, and just telling myself after I give up a goal, maybe like say something like what I could have done better, and then just shock it out of your brain and just say like focus on the next shot. You got the next shot. And then like that's really helped me stay in the present and just being in the moment, because that's what you need as a goaltender, and just being able to not dwell and just forget about everything that's happened before and just focus on what's coming next, which is the next shot.
Right. I think it's important as goaltenders, and I know, some people are skeptical on sports psychology. They might have their own opinions on it, and that's completely fine. I mean, whatever works for some certain people is whatever works for you. I think what's worked for me, talking with my sports psychologist is, I have 3 key points that I know when I'm playing my best is, me at my top of my game. So, we have, good positioning is A, tracking pucks well is B, and patient is C. So, before every game, like before we start the game, I'll just be like, all right, let's be patient, let's track puck well, and let's be at the top of the crease or good positioning all night long. You know what I mean? I think if you just keep saying those things out loud, studies show in psychology, like if you keep, positive flowing thoughts out loud and you keep saying them over and over and over again, it's going to translate into how you're feeling, right? And if you keep saying negative things like, oh, I should have stopped that, I should have this and this and this, all it's going to do is bring you down. So I think that's one of the things I've tried to focus on, is just that positive reinforcement of just, telling yourself that, okay, that happened, deep breath, let's move on from it. And now, I'm going to next time I'm going to be big. I'm going to be top of the crease, patient, doing my thing. I know what I need to do to be successful. You know what I mean? So the more you can tell yourself those positive things, I think it becomes more of a reality. And as you start to think negatively, things usually start to go negatively. I mean, from my experiences, at least, that's how I feel. When I'm thinking negatively in the net, things start to have a trickle down effect where everything becomes negative. When I start to think positively, I find a huge difference in my demeanor, the way that I present myself. I'm big in the net. I'm not creeping back into my crease. I'm not small, all those kind of things. So it's just something that's helped me. And like I said, it's different for every single person. But those are just a couple keys that I've worked on.
Yeah, I really like what you said there, and just couldn't agree with you. I couldn't agree with you more there, and just especially during like you brought up like puck tracking, like during pregame warm-ups, do you just think about like just tracking the puck in your glove and like actually like leaning into shots, and then just like staying on your edges and just holding your edges and not going back into the crease like you said, and just making yourself smaller?
Yeah. So I mean, like pregame warm-ups, like, we have 15 minutes out there or whatever it may be. And I think you nailed it on the head. My focus on pregame warm-ups is, I want to make sure my skating feels good, right? So I'll do a couple crease movements, some post work, make sure everything's feeling good. And then when that's said and done, I incorporate that into some shots and all that stuff. But I think tracking the puck for me is just the main thing that I'm focused on in a warm up, just making sure my eyes are dialed in. I'm focused on every puck. I'm watching every puck into my body, my glove, my blocker, wherever it may be, not getting lazy with my eyes. You know what I mean? Where I'm like, oh, I know it's going blocker, just stick a blocker out there, right? Like I'm really like emphasizing, like even over exaggerating it in pregame warm up, right? So it just becomes nature. It's second nature and a routine for me. That way, when the game comes around, that's just what my body's used to, right? It's muscle memory. It's not just, when you start to get lazy, that's what your body remembers. Oh, muscle memory. It's just, stick a blocker out there. And I think if you instill those good habits into your game early, I think that becomes just part of your game and who you are, and you don't even think about it. And next thing you know, you're just tracking everything in and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's pretty important. I mean, like I said, everybody's got different pregame routines and how they go about their business and how they get focused and ready for a game. And, that's what makes, people and athletes unique, is that everyone has a different way of preparing and finding ways to find themselves in a zone per se. And that's just what I do to help myself.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree with you there. And just like it's amazing seeing like other athletes, just how they handle themselves, their routines. Like everyone's different. If it works, it works for person to person. Like, and just it's amazing to see all that and just how it all ends up being.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So then I want to go in the off season a little bit here. Just
Sure.
like you said, you got a concussion last year.
Yeah.
You only played a few games, and then you go into this off season with like COVID happening, and just being able, like not knowing when your next game is going to be, and like when the season's going to start. Like I know the ECHL started the last week of December, early January or something like that, and then the AHL starts in February. So that's like a good like 10 months for an off season. So like, what did you ever really like focus on during this really long off season? Just staying ready whenever something would happen for the season to start.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much nailed it on the head. I mean, it was a weird, unique off season in the sense that, generally when my season ends, I'm like, okay, I have till the last week of August before I go to training camp with Boston. That's when I know I got to be ready and primed for my body. Where this summer was like, okay, we could have the season in 3 weeks. We could have it in 3 months. We don't really know. You know what I mean? So I think my approach this off season was just making sure that, my body was at the top peak physical condition for a long extended period of time, right? Because I didn't know in that time period when I was going in, you know what I mean? So I think in the early parts of the summer, so our season got canceled in March. So from like May, June, July, August, I did a lot of my strength building, right? Building up as much muscle as I could possibly do in that time period. And then September, October, November hit. And that was me building strength, but maintaining it and working on my quickness and my speed. That way it all came together nicely, right? When the season started. And then one of the emphasis that I had this year in my off-season training was I did, for every Tuesday and Thursday morning, we did an hour-long mobility session at my gym, which was it's not just like typical stretching, all that stuff. It's like strengthening your joints and your tendons and all that stuff, and end ranges, which is basically like, for instance, like if you go into a split and to make a save, like, everything in your groin and all that area is nice and tight and strong, right? So you're not going to have those nagging injuries. You're not going to have things of that nature. So I found a really good gym this summer up in Michigan that really put a lot of emphasis on that and some goalie training. And I found that, my body felt amazing going into the season. One of the things that I wanted to, ensure after last year not playing was I didn't want to come into this year with some different nagging injuries, that could keep me out for an extended period of time. I missed so much time last year that I wanted to make sure that this year, my body feels great. I come into the season and I don't have anything bother me and I can just go out and play, right? So I think that was a huge emphasis for me. And from a skating standpoint, it's tricky, when you're not sure when your season's coming, because you don't want to overdo it on the ice, right? You don't want to go 4 or 5 times a week, because then you're going to burn yourself out before the season even starts, right? You're going to be 10 games into the season going, holy cow, I'm so freaking tired already, right? Because you've been skating for 4 or 5 days a week for the past 3 months. So I think for me, I did maybe 2 skates a week, for 3 weeks. And then the 4th week, I took that week off, and then I would ramp it up a little bit. And, this summer I was fortunate enough, my goalie coach, Dave Lassonde, he was my goalie coach at the World Juniors with Team USA. He's now working with the national team development program. He actually invited me out to skate with their 18 team, probably about 2 or 3 times every week, just because they have long practices. They had 2 goalies. So they were like, yeah, if you want to come out and skate with us, like, we're more than happy to have you. So that was awesome for me, because I got to get in some practice environments, right? It wasn't just strictly goalie coach training. It was, I got to see some 2-on-1s, some 3-on-2s, some different small area games where it was more game-like. So that way, when I went into the season, I wasn't just strictly working with a goalie coach for 9 months on, like, positional and, and all that stuff, which is great. You need to do that, but you also need to implement that kind of structure and that positional stuff into a real environment where there's unpredictability of 2-on-1s and different game situations. So I think over the quarantine, or over the, the summertime, that was kind of my emphasis, was just make sure in the gym that I was my strongest and I was ready at all times and feeling like my body was ready to go. And then on the ice, just making sure that, I was tweaking my game a little bit to things that I might, that I've needed to correct over in the past. That way, when I came into this season, that was all taken care of.
Yeah, exactly. And just I really like what you said there, and just like everything, like you focused on like mobility for like a few weeks, and just this strength, and then you worked on like speed and reaction and all that, and then like it all came together, especially during what you saw this year in Jacksonville.
Right.
Like at the right time, like everything came together, and you're able to just feel good to go. And like you brought up the World Junior team, so like I want to touch on that a little bit. Like you were in 2018, 2019, you represented Team USA in the World Junior Championships, where you got to play in 2 games. Like, what was it like repping the United States and getting to play in those games in international competition?
Yeah, I mean, that was incredibly special. Anytime you can put on the USA jersey, it's like it's kind of surreal. You know what I mean? It's hard not to, get emotional in a sense, because that you have however many people in our country cheering for you, right? Wanting you to do your best. And I think it's kind of just a cool feeling knowing you have, the support of a whole country behind you, wanting you to do well. So being able to play at the World Juniors was an incredible experience. We the first game that I played versus Slovakia, we had ended up winning 2-1, which was just a great atmosphere. And, we were in Canada, right? So that a lot of the Canadians wanted them to win. And, it was kind of fun to, play against that crowd and, watching them cheer. I think they had a penalty shot with like 5 minutes left in the game, and we were up 2-1, and I ended up making a save. And I don't think the crowd was too happy about it, but I thought it was pretty funny. So, so I think just playing in that environment where that you're with 20 guys from all around the country, right? And you're all playing for that same goal of winning a gold medal in just a month period, right? I think it's unbelievable to see how fast our team chemistry and our camaraderie came together, because we knew we had a month together, right? And that was it. But at the same time, we knew we were playing for a gold medal for our country. And, not a lot of, people can say that they're able to do that. And, you want to make your legacy and your team, all the gold medal teams that have won for the World Juniors for the USA. You see their highlights every single year when the World Juniors come around. You want to leave that lasting legacy on for yourself. And I think that's just a cool way to approach it. And I had two amazing goalie partners at the World Juniors with me, with Caden Primo and Spencer Knight, who are obviously two world-class goalies, and they're both going to be fantastic NHL goalies one day. So I got to learn from those guys as well, right? Because both those guys, Caden played at Northeastern in college, and Spencer played at Boston College, and I was up in Oshawa, right? So I think it's kind of cool when you get to, come together for a month, and I get to see their games and they get to see mine, and we get to kind of pick each other's brains, right? And we get to learn from each other, when in a normal atmosphere, we would have never gotten that opportunity. So I think it was just an incredible experience all around. Definitely probably my top hockey moment of all time was, being able to play at the World Juniors, from a standpoint of just, knowing the weight that's on your shoulders and just being able to just enjoy that whole process, was unbelievable.
Yeah, that's awesome. You were able to be a part of that run, Team USA, and just be there. So like throughout like the whole process, like you're only there for a month, but like I'm sure you took away a lot from that time. So like what were some of the things that you learned, whether it be from like Kane Primo and Spencer Knight, or like just the competition overall, and just everything that went into you playing some games and learning from those experiences?
Yeah, so I'll touch on the two goalies from your first question with Preems and Niter. I think just the thing that I wanted to learn was just, I wanted to watch them in practice, right, in games, and just see their games and see what they do well, right, compared to what I don't do very well, right. I think Preems and Niter are both big guys. They are very, very sound positionally. Pucks seem to hit them in the chest. They're never out of position. They're never scrambling around the crease, right? They're just solid. Both are really solid goalies. They're very methodical in their movements, right? They don't get out of control. They just almost push, stop, set, puck hits them, and they just swallow it up. And that's how you want to play goalie, right? Like, it's just the easy way to play. And I think just watching those guys was unbelievable. And I think the thing that stuck out to me the most was, I got a chance to room with Spencer, at the World Juniors that year. And I think he played 3 years at the World Juniors. So he was either 17 or 18 years old. He was young, right? Let's put it that way. He was very young, and he was there, he didn't get into any games that year, and he was whatever. If you say the third goalie, I don't consider that. I think we were all pretty, equal in our capabilities. But he was just watching us and being able to learn from, that experience. That way, the next 2 years when he played at the World Juniors, he was lights out. Obviously, the last year he won the gold medal and he was unbelievable. But I thought the thing that stuck out to me about Niter was just how mature he was for his age at 17 years old. We roomed together for a couple days in Victoria, and when we got to Vancouver, and just watching him prepare himself and the way he goes about his business and the way he, acts at the rink, and I knew he was going to be a good professional goalie, because you can just tell when guys have it down pat and when they know how to be a professional. And I just thought it was super impressive at such a young age, how professional he was. Preems is the same way. He's just more my age, right? So you expect a little bit more at an older age than you do at Niter's age, but Preems is the same way. He's a professional all the way around. He handles his business, very, very professionally, comes to the rink, does what he needs to do to prepare, much like all of us do. But, I think it's not easy day in and day out, right, to come to the rink and know that you have to do certain things to make sure that you play at the best of your abilities. And that's why the best guys are the best guys, because they do those things. So, learning from those guys was a pretty cool experience, and they're good friends of mine, and people that I'll cherish those memories with for life.
Yeah, for sure. And that's awesome. They were able to teach you all that stuff, and just how young Spencer Knight was at that time, and just how he managed everything, just because it comes with pressure, especially playing at that level. And he's only 17 at that time, and just to help you develop as well, and learn from him, is that must have been really, really awesome to see firsthand, and just be able to implement that in your game, and just how professional he was.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I mean, I think it's the nice part about having three goalies and, all of us together is like we can all pick each other's brain, right? We watch video together, we watch NHL hockey together. There might be an aspect of my game that they think I do better than them, right? And there's definitely aspects of their game that I know that they do better than me. And I ask them, okay, so how do you play this situation? What do you think about this situation? And then they'll ask me the same situation and from different plays. And I think that's the cool part about it, right? You can take the strengths of other guys' games and the weaknesses, and you can kind of help build that. And find what you're good at, find what you're not good at, find what he's good at, what he's not good at, right? And kind of help each other. And that's what's awesome about being together on a team. At the World Juniors is you're all at the same day. As much as you want to play, we all want to win a gold medal, right? So if Preems is standing on his head, I'm going to be his biggest cheerleader on the bench. Good for you, man. Like, that's awesome. You know what I mean? And I'm playing, well. Preems was doing the same thing for me in those first couple of games, Niter the same way. So, I think it's just cheering each other on and wanting everyone to be successful is really important, and being a good teammate and just a good person.
Yeah, and like being a good teammate is especially important because like if you're not a good teammate, no one's going to respect you, and just you want that respect, and you want everyone to think you're a team guy and just be there for everyone. It really helps the support system as well, because you could go to them for anything, and just it's always good to hang with the boys too.
For sure, always a good time with the boys.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So like, what was your favorite moment from that World Junior Championship experience that you had?
My favorite moment. Ooh, that's a tough question. Obviously the World Juniors that year didn't end the way we wanted it to, with us losing to Finland in the gold medal game. But, I think after the gold medal game, we had, a get together at the hotel with all our teammates, right? And, I think that kind of sticks out to me because it was just, we kind of sat in the hotel room or in a huge, like, I guess, ballroom, you would say, with all of our team, our coaches, and we just reminisced about, our time there. And it was emotional, right? Like, after the game, it was tough when we lost the gold medal. There was a lot of tears. There was a lot of, emotion in that room because we had wanted it so bad, right? And even the staff was upset, like all that stuff. So you could just it showed how much everyone cared about, winning that for the country. I thought that stuck out to me because it was a pretty, one of those things where you look back on it now and you're like, wow, like that's pretty amazing. You know what I mean? I only know these guys for a month and we generated that much, family bond, to, really care that much. And there's still guys on that team that I talk to this day, you know what I mean? That I never met before I went to that tournament. You know what I mean? So I think it's awesome, and I would, like I said, I think, the hockey aspect of it is unbelievable. No one's going to take that away from anyone. I mean, the World Juniors is the best under 20 tournament in the entire world. But I think the actual camaraderie and that day after the game, was pretty special. You know what I mean? Just to kind of see, what it meant, and just knowing that like you had built a lifelong bond with some of these guys, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's an awesome memory there. And just even though you guys didn't win the gold that year, but like you're able to go back on these memories and just reminisce about them and just know that it happened. Just have that memory in the back of your head.
Yeah, no, it's awesome.
Yeah, so I want to touch on your junior hockey career a little bit here. So you played 4 years in the OHL. So like, what was the process like to find a team in the Ontario Hockey League? Like, were you drafted there? Like, you found your way onto the Flint Firebirds. Like, what was that process to be on an OHL team?
Yeah, so I mean, I played, U16 for Victory Honda in Michigan the year before I got drafted into the OHL. I tried out for the national team development program. I didn't end up making the team. So then after that, my decisions were kind of, I can go to the USHL and play hockey there. And I had a couple options there, or I could go to the OHL. It was my decision. My parents were super supportive. It's your career. It's whatever you want to do. After talking with my agents, we felt like the best route for me personally was to go to the OHL. And I got drafted by Flint, and it was, very, very good for me that first year to get drafted by them because I backed up my first year. The goalie that started in front of me, Alex Nedeljkovic, who was playing with Carolina right now. very good friend of mine. We've been friends since even before that when I was growing up because we have the same age. And so we got to know each other. So we've been friends for, God, I want to say over 7 or 8 years now. That first year in Flint was super important for me in my development because I got to learn from someone who's older than me, right? And I think Alex, if anyone knows him, is just the nicest human being on the planet. And, I was so fortunate enough to play with him that he was able to just share his wealth of knowledge with me and let me know, like, show me things in practice. And, this is how, you approach games. This is how you become a professional, all those kind of things. Because I was 16 or I was 15 or 16 when I came into that league. So I was still in high school. I thought I had goaltending all figured out. I thought I knew the position. Oh, I'm going to make it right to the NHL, all this stuff. You know what I mean? And then you kind of get a reality check, and you play in a league that's, obviously one of the best leagues in North America. And my first year I had my ups and my downs, right? And you quickly realize, okay, this isn't U16 hockey anymore. I'm not going to just go in and dominate. Like, I got to actually, put in the time and the work if I want to be successful here. And I think my first year in Flint was crucial for that because Alex really showed me, how to be a good pro and how to do these things and, how to manage my emotions and, all those kind of things that are important to being successful.
Yeah, for sure. And just like you said, you played a lot of games in your first year. You played in 17 games.
Yeah.
So like, what was it like getting that shot to play good level juniors, like one of the best in North America, and just being able to play in a talented OHL?
Yeah, I mean, my first year, was kind of a whirlwind. I mean, my first game, I won. We played in Mississauga. I think, I had 28 saves on 29 shots, right? So I played a good game. We ended up winning 2-1. So I was like, oh, this is awesome. Like, this isn't so bad. Like, I can do this kind of thing. And I think the important part is anything you do in life, in order to be considered successful, you have to do it on a consistent basis. And I think I struggled with consistency my first year. I would have a really good game and then a really bad game, right? And then I would be flip-flopping back and forth. I played really, really well, and the next game I get pulled. You know what I mean? So my emotions were all over the place. And this is kind of what I touched on earlier about, how I've been able to handle my emotions as I've gotten older and been able to really dial that in. When I was young, I was so all over the place, right? I'd have a bad game and I would think about it for days on end, right? And I'd have a good game and I'd be like, oh, I'm awesome, this, and this. And I think my first year was really good for me to be able to understand the consistency aspect of playing goalie and making sure that you know what you need to do to be good every single night in. You know what I mean? And your bad games are just average and your good and your great games are great. You know what I mean? I think that's an important way to, for me to learn. And it was awesome. And it prepared me for my 3 years in Oshawa. And if you want me to touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, I was just about to bring that up. Like, you go on to Oshawa next year, and you play 3 years there. So take us through playing in Oshawa and just being on a new team, new locker room. Like, what's going through your head there?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I got traded to Oshawa in the off season after my first year in Flint. And I was excited. I mean, I had heard great things about Oshawa. If anyone knows about the organization, Oshawa, it's top notch. It's an absolute first tier organization in the OHL. I have absolutely nothing but good things to say about my time in Oshawa. So my first year, I got traded there. Obviously, a little bit scary at first. I never, I'm going to live in a Canadian city. I've never, left the U.S. to live per se. So it was different for me. It was a little bit of an adjustment period. My first year in Oshawa, I backed up Jeremy Brodeur, obviously Marty Brodeur's son, who is playing in Binghamton now. Great guy, really got close with him. And I thought I started, I made a good step in my second year in the OHL. I found like I was getting more consistent. I was working towards what I wanted to be. I was starting to get my game to where it needed to be successful at the OHL level. I had a great goalie coach there my first year, Zach Burke, who's now the goalie coach for the Ottawa Senators. He just got hired probably 2 days ago. So Berkey was awesome for my development, helping me with some different things that I needed to clean up and be successful at that level. I got away with some things that I was super athletic when I was young. So I made some saves when I was playing 15, 16-year-old hockey. But at that level, it just wasn't going to fly. It wasn't going to cut it. And I needed to make adjustments to my game. And I thought I did a really good job, with the help of Berkey and Jeremy in my first year in Oshawa, of making those adjustments. And then my second year in Oshawa was my first year as a starting goalie in the OHL, like a full blown, this is my team kind of thing. And it was huge for my confidence. It was important for me to get that step. And I thought I had another really good step in my third year in making strides and keep on improving my game and making sure that I'm having that upward trajectory, like I talked about early in the podcast. Of making sure that I keep on improving, and that's what I was kind of trying to do. My whole time in Oshawa was just keep on improving, and we had a good regular season. I think we finished like middle of the pack, and then we lost in our first round of playoffs to, I want to say, Niagara in the first round in my third year, which was tough. It was disappointing, heartbreak, and you wanted to, win. But I think we weren't ready to win at that point. We were still a young team. I was still young. It was my first year starting, so we weren't ready to win. But it was a good experience for us to get into the playoffs and get in that first round. And then my fourth year is when I took the biggest step in my development. I'd already had a year of starting under my belt. I knew what to expect. I knew what I needed to do to be successful and give my team a chance to win every single night. And that was when I really made my biggest stride. Was my fourth year. We had a really good team, still a young team, but more veteran presence of guys that have been older. So that was good. And we made a lot of noise in the playoffs my fourth year. Not a lot of people expected us to do well. We traded our, two of our better players on our team to Niagara at the deadline for some draft picks because, Oshawa was happy with where we were at, but they're still thinking about the future because they didn't think we were ready to win an OHL championship, which is totally understandable, and that's the business. So we traded two of our better players, Jack Sadnika and Matt Broussard, to Niagara. And, we made some noise in the playoffs. We beat Peterborough 4-1 in the first round, and then we ended up playing that same Niagara team that we lost our two best players to, and they won the first two games of the series, and then we ended up coming back and winning 4 straight and winning that series. And then we played an absolute juggernaut of a team in the Eastern Conference Finals in Ottawa, who was just unbelievable. And, I think from my personal perspective, I think we were so emotionally drained from that Niagara series because it was such a battle. Like, we took them to game 6. We lost the first 2 games. Like 4 or 5 of those games have gone into overtime, right? So we were just battling tooth and nail every single night to win that series. And then, Ottawa had swept their first 2 series. So they had only played 8 games. They're chilling at home. They're ready. They're rested up. And we were just on an emotional high. And, we put up a fight against Ottawa, but, they were unbelievable that year, and kudos to them. And, but that last year was special for us in Oshawa, and it was special for me. And, I think the city of Oshawa, the people that I met there, the coaching staff, all the players are some of my favorite people, and I consider them family. Some people that I love, my billets there were unbelievable. So I have nothing but good things to say about my time in juniors in Oshawa. I loved it there.
Yeah, for sure. It's like, what was it about, like, getting that opportunity to play in the OHL, especially like you struggled your first year in Flint, and then it just gets better and better and better from there when you're playing in Oshawa. So like, what was that opportunity like, and just being able to roll with it when you did get to Oshawa and like got to be the guy and have like that this is your team?
Yeah, no, I mean, that was big for my development, but I think the one thing that I realized is, I was never given, the team in Oshawa. I had to earn it, every single day. And I think my first year backing up Jeremy, was basically, I guess essentially you could say a tryout, for me, because Jeremy was an overage goalie, right? So he wasn't eligible to come back the next year. So it was basically like, all right, well, show us what you can do, and if you can take this team over the next year. So that was my mindset that year, right? Was every game, okay, I got to go out and prove that I'm capable of leading this team next year. And that was the way that I looked at it. And then my last 2 years as a starter there, I think I just found what worked for me. And I found that comfortability factor with being in the same city for, a whole year now. And I knew what to expect from the coaching staff and the players and all that kind of, in the living situation. I think I just felt more comfortable. And, I just, every day I wanted to get better. You know what I mean? I'd never want to get, I guess stagnant is the right word, where I'm just plateauing and I just stay the same the whole time, because then you're not going anywhere from there. Right. And I know it sounds corny, but I think I literally just every single day would just go in with the mindset of, okay, let's get better today. You know what I mean? Even if you're tired, all that stuff, find a way to get better in some aspect of your game. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be 5 different things today. It can just be one thing. You know what I mean? Okay, today I want to make sure that my post play is good. You know what I mean? Like let's make sure there's nothing happening on post play, no bad goals, anything like that. And just taking little things and just working at them, small details, and working at them over time leads to success.
Yeah, I love that. Just like all the little details, like you
Yeah.
said, leads to success, and like they matter because they potentially could make or break a career. And just
Absolutely.
if you're not doing the little things, like you're gonna plateau and just stay stagnant, like you said. But if you're doing like the extra things, like
Yeah.
you'll see yourself going up. And it's just goaltending is such like a technical like position that like you just got to do everything you can to get better, and like have that open mindset of, I want to get better every day. And just no matter what, like you could be tired and not want to go, but you go and you get better, and just continue on that upward trend.
Yeah, I think the thing that I would say, and like if there's young goalies that are listening, I think that, just strive to improve at least one part of your game every time you go out on the ice. You know what I mean? Like, don't focus or don't get so caught up in, I need to fix this, 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 and this. You know what I mean? Because then your attention's on 5 different things, right? If you can dial in on one single detail that is important for that session and hammer that down, you know what I mean? It keeps your focus at a smaller, almost like a smaller tunnel, right? Where if you widen out the tunnel and you have a bunch of different things going on around you, then I can only put 20% of my focus into post play, 20% of my focus into skating, 20% into tracking, right? Do you know what I mean? Like, so for me, when I go out there, I'm like, okay, what do I want to work on today? What did I not do well in last game? Well, I got beat on a bad angle goal. I want to work on my RVHs today. You know what I mean? Okay, so now anytime that there's a play behind the net, I'm in my RVH. I'm working on the little details. Where's my hand placement? Where's my skate placement? Do I need to be over aggressive? How do I need to play this situation in the RVH? And just working on those little details, right? And the little details are what separates NHL goalies from guys that, don't make it pro, because everyone's got good skill in pro hockey. You know what I mean? Like the AHL goalie and the NHL goalies, they're obviously different, but I think the difference between the two are those little details of those guys at the NHL that are just so spot on with their little details. You know what I mean? When you watch the top end goalies, Price, Vasilevsky, Bobrovsky, Tuukka, all those guys, you just watch their game, and their attention to detail is just phenomenal. At least for me, and my noticing on those guys when I watch the NHL games is their attention to detail is phenomenal.
Yeah, 100% agree with you there. And like you could learn so much from just watching them, and just
absolutely
how technically sound they are. And like that's one of the biggest things that like I've heard a lot of people say is just like we have like the resources like YouTube, like the TV, like you could watch games and just watch these goaltenders and how like spot on they are with like the details, like you said, and just you could learn just from watching games or even watching their highlight reels and just seeing how they do stuff and how they're incorporating it into their game.
Right. I think, and one of the things that I've done, I think a lot of young goalies, and I did this when I was a kid, right? You find your favorite goalie, right? And that's all you want to watch. All I want to watch is Carey Price. All I want to watch is Carey Price. Expand your horizon, right? Watch all NHL goalies. Everyone does something specifically really well, right? Like for instance, I love watching Bobrovsky's post play. I think his post play is unbelievable. I think he's probably, him and Vasilevsky, their post play are top in the game, right? When I get to watch Carey Price, just how smooth he is with his movements, right? He just so unfazed by any pressure, anything like that. He's just cool, calm, and collected the whole time. Obviously, being in Boston system, anytime I watch Tuukka play, his positioning is unbelievable. Pucks hit him in the chest left and right. He's never out of control, right? His post play is good as well. But I watch it, so I take different things from goaltending, right? Bobrovsky, I watch his post play. Carey, I watch his skating, and I watch the way he moves around the net and how he handles that stuff. Tuukka, I watch how positionally sound he is on different plays. He's just so patient on his feet. He doesn't bite on things. So I think it's important for goalies to be able to watch different goalies and take different aspects of their game. And you don't have to incorporate that, but maybe watch something that a guy does and maybe you don't do, and maybe I'll try that out in practice. And if it works for you, phenomenal. If it doesn't, then it doesn't. You know what I mean? But at least you can try and implement things in your game from some of the top goalies in the entire world.
Yeah, exactly. And like that's what I've noticed recently as well, is just like we're focusing on like the different I would used to just watch my favorite goalie, which is like it was like Jordan Bennington, Corey Crawford, like
Yeah.
but like now I've expanded and like I've watched like Jordan Bennington's compete level, Crawford's like
Mhm.
positionally sound when he was playing, and
Mhm.
like Carey Price, like he is strong and so smooth, like you said, and just
Yeah.
Vasilevsky's like athleticism, like there's a lot to pick on, and
Sure.
just incorporate it into your game, and it's really interesting just watching these guys and learning from them, because you don't even need a goalie coach to
Yeah.
learn anything. You could watch literally any NHL goalie, AHL goalie, and like
Absolutely.
they're so technically sound. Like the details are written all over the place.
Certainly. I agree with you.
Yeah. So I have a few more questions for you before
Sure.
we
Absolutely.
get this thing wrapped up. So like I know we've already had like a lot of tips in this episode. So like, do you have any
Yeah.
other like tips, like tips or tricks that you could use for like younger goalies looking to get to the next level?
Yeah. So I think for younger goalies, the one thing that I would emphasize is, first of all, have fun, right? Have fun with the game. Like, I think, you know, especially when I was younger, I would get so caught up in wanting to make it to the next level. And sometimes I would get lost in not having fun in the game, right? Because I was just trying to be, I wanted it so bad. I wanted it so bad. I wanted to make it to the next level that, it ended up becoming work, right? And then once you start having fun again with the game is when things start to usually go well. So I would say always have fun. Never take it too seriously. It's still a game at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Whether you're playing at the highest level or you're just playing for fun, it's a game. And we're fortunate. I'm fortunate where I have a living where I play a game for a living. At the end of the day, that's all it is. You know what I mean? It's not make or break. It's not going to break your life. It is, life goes on. And then the other thing I would say is, if you can focus on the mental approach of the game at a younger age, and I'm not saying like a 10 or 11-year-old goalie, like obviously I don't expect 11-year-old goalies to be working on breathing, you know what I mean? But if you're 16, 17, where I was in like that Flint stage, and you can focus on that mental aspect of your game and maturing a little bit and focusing on, like I said, breathing, doing some visualization, there's plenty of stuff that you can Google online of sports psychologists and what they recommend. I think if you can start that at an early age, you'll have an upper advantage on some of the other goalies on your age group, right? Because I think, obviously there's a skill discrepancy, at the 16, 17-year-old age, but as you become older and you start to move up the ranks, the skill discrepancy starts to get a little bit smaller between goalies, and there's just little things that put guys over the edge of what makes this guy great versus what just makes this guy good. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I think one of the things that I've found that can put you to the next level of making you great is the mental aspect of the game, and really harnessing that, and focusing on that. So when things aren't going well, you can calm yourself down and you can get back to the way you can go. You know what I mean? And when things are going great, you don't get too high on things, and you can focus on what needs to be done.
Yeah, those are awesome tips for everyone, like not even younger
Yeah.
goalies, but like every goaltender. Like you just gotta expand, and just like everything you said there, I really enjoyed, and really like I couldn't agree with you more. Like it was very well said. So my next question is for you is like, what's been like the most ridiculous save that you've had to make and you somehow end up stopping it?
Oh my goodness. That's a great question. Um, I think in playoffs, my last year in Oshawa, I made a paddle save versus Niagara that I had no business making this save. And it was just one of those things where, you dive back with your paddle on like an empty net, and it somehow catches a piece of you. And then, there's a scrum and a pile on top of you, and you find it like under your arm, and you're just sitting there like, holy cow, how did I just make that save? You know what I mean? I think I actually have a picture on my Instagram that somebody got a picture of, and it's hitting like not the paddle, but just on my arm here. And I think at the time, it might have been in the third period, we were up by a goal, or it might have been overtime. So just the timing of the save and the save itself, was pretty great. And it's something that, you know, it's a confidence booster, right? Like that gets you fired up. You hear the crowd going nuts, your bench is going bananas. And, that's a great feeling as a goalie. So that one probably comes to mind like immediately as like one of the, better saves I've made in recent. I've made some ridiculous saves probably in practice here or there. You throw a behind the back glove save or something like that. You're just messing around, and sometimes it works and sometimes you look like an idiot, right? You throw a behind the back glove save and it goes bar down. You're like, oh God, I guess I really didn't need to do that.
Yeah.
But no, from a game perspective, I think that one in games, I think it was game 6 versus Niagara in the third period, we were up by a goal was pretty memorable.
Yeah, for sure. You're always like, holy smokes, like how do I get this whenever you make that incredible save? Like I've had a few in like practice in my skates, like just like practice. And like I once got the same guy twice on a paddle save and just in this maybe within like a few reps. And it was like, he's like, how did you do that? And I'm like, I just threw the paddle back and somehow found his way to hit it.
A lot of the best saves that you ever make are 50% luck and 50% skill, but that's the fun in it, right? Like that's what makes it awesome. Cause there's some times where, a forward comes down the wing and he dangles a defenseman, but he kind of loses the puck and it makes its way through and it looks like an unbelievable move. But at the same time, he really lost the puck, right? So then everyone's like, oh, that's unbelievable. It's like, oh, it's 50% luck, 50% skill. You can say the same thing for, saves like that.
Yeah, exactly. But you tend to be like, oh yeah, it's 100% skill at that point.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what you tell other people, but in the back of your mind, that, part of it was probably luck.
Yeah, exactly. So my final question for you is like, if you're looking to get in the gym, like pregame warm up, like what are you listening to? Like what's that pump up song that you're listening to?
Oh man, I have a whole pump up playlist. I don't have a specific song. However, lately I've been on SoundCloud with the Big Booty mix before I go out for the games. That's kind of been getting me going as of late, just because I think I created a playlist early in the season on Apple Music. That's pretty damn good. But I started to listen to it so much that, you kind of get sick of it and you're like, all right, I want something else to get me going. So then I don't even know how it got brought up, but one of my buddies, we were at our apartment one night, we were hanging out watching hockey and we were playing cards and he had the Big Booty mix bumping and I was like, oh, this could be a good pregame routine. So then I started listening to that recently and that's been getting me going. So, they got a good, nice mix of like the classic remixes, like EDM and stuff like that. And I like how it kind of changes from song to song. And then like you hit that one song and it fires you up. And, so that's what I've been bumping lately. So it's just a big collage of songs.
Oh yeah, it seems to be famous among everyone that has said what their favorite pump up song. Like everyone said that, so it's very popular within the goalie world.
I love it, man. Like I try to, I like to get amped up before games, and then so I'll listen to music probably like the whole bus ride. Let's say we're going to a road game, like if it's a 40-minute bus ride, I like to listen to my music. Kind of get amped up. I'll listen to music while I'm stretching, taping my sticks, doing my hand-eye stuff. And then as I'm getting dressed to go on the ice is when I kind of take the music off and start doing some breathing stuff to kind of calm myself down a little bit, bring everything back to my breath. But no, I do love it. I love a little Big Booty mix just to get me going for the games.
Oh yeah, that's unreal. It's just gotta pump that whenever you want to get pumped up and just get the juices flowing.
I probably listen to it a little bit too much, even when I'm not on game days, just because it fires me up. Like if I go out and do anything, but hey, it's all part of it.
Hey, if it works, it works, and
that's right.
Whatever you got, you got exactly.
That's right.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So Kyle, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate your time and want to wish you the best of luck going forward with the season. And I look forward to following your career the rest of the way.
Awesome, man. I appreciate you having me on, and best of luck to the podcast. Everyone, give him some love.
Oh yeah, thank you. I appreciate that, and give Kyle Kaiser some love too. He's a fucking stud.
I appreciate it, my man.
Yeah.